I was originally going to be extremely disappointed if they didn't go offense and specifically offensive line with their first couple picks. But maybe it's more likely than I assumed. Now, have you heard of, I have his name written down because I'm pretty bad at draft stuff, but Darius Robinson. Apparently, he has long arms, really good run stopper, extremely fast, physical, anchors hard, is 6'5", 287, but apparently looks leaner and moves leaner, or moves like more fluidly than you would assume, even though he is a very big, strong guy. Like I said, I was talking to Eric Crocker about him, not on stream, but just like between the two of us, and he said that was kind of one of his draft crushes, and he, I guess, is projected to go kind of earlier on, and he could see the 49ers really liking a guy like that. Do you think that the 49ers could use that first round pick on a defensive player, whether or not it's Darius Robinson or a cornerback or something else, or do you think that it is O-line no matter what, which I think is what fans want to hear?
The closer we get, the more, like, the less I can see him taking an offensive line. An offensive lineman. I don't know if it's just like, and it's crazy because when they signed, I was gonna say McGlinchey, McKivitz to that extension, I said this doesn't mean they don't take an offensive lineman in the first round, which I still feel that. But when you look at how the draft is kind of projected to go and how many offensive tackles are projected to go earlier than the 49ers pick, then you get into this weird situation of, well, you don't want to reach for someone just because you need an offensive lineman, right? Like, you don't want to.
There's like guys who are like
projected
to go like too. In the 60s, and it's like, well, the 49ers could get them at 31, but then that's
or just just in any example, right? But yeah, I don't like that scenario either. So, and then you also kind of look at like positional value as well, and that's where things like an edge rusher like Darius Robinson, for example, who I know yes, he's very unlikely to be there at 31, but let's just say like a different position, like a Kool-Aid McKinstry, just another position that player would be ranked higher than the 6th, 7th tackle, at 31, let's just say. Like, you're at that point, the decision would be, okay, 3rd best corner versus 7th best tackle or offensive lineman. So like, what do you do at that point? And so the more I think about and see like all these insiders talking about how all these offensive linemen are going to be gone, like, well, before then, I think the 49ers, if they do want to tackle and they're set on a certain tackle in the first round, they're going to have to trade up for him. Or take a swing on someone who's a bit of not a project, but maybe just like someone who you're not sure would start right away, so then that kind of defeats the purpose too, because all the fans like want someone who can compete with
like
Colton
a plug and play guy.
Exactly. So like, if you know that it's not someone who has that much of an impact right away, then that also goes into the decision as well. And then, I'd probably lean towards another position at that point rather than taking a guy who's not going to be an impact player right away, and he's going to just be another guy who we develop along with all the other guys who we have drafted to develop, right? Like the Nick Zakel, all these other guys. So, I think.
Can I ask you if you would be in favor of the 49ers moving up? I know that you keep track of all the guys that they bringing in and stuff. I think it was more in the beginning and not so much anymore, but for a while it looked like they weren't looking at a ton of guys in the second round, and I was kind of thinking that maybe they were set on solidifying that first and second round pick to move up higher. I know since then they've been, they've obviously expanded everyone they've looked at a lot more, but is that something that you would be in support of the 49ers doing? Like, are you pro kind of sitting where you are, taking best player available? Or do you think maybe it's smart if there is a guy on their draft board that they feel like they, feel really strongly about and the ability of that guy to perform well, be a plug and play starter like we're talking about? Do you think it is worth it to, because they have 11 draft picks, but I know like earlier rounds are obviously more important. What is your feeling on trading up? Because some people can say trading up is more like reaching, because then if you miss on that guy, it's kind of like you missed out on 2 picks,
or 3. I mean, yeah, I think I would be open to the 49ers trading up. I think the sweet spot for them would probably be in the 20s, and I would even say like mid 20s, to Mr. Corey's point in the comments. Yeah, like 11 or 10 picks. I think
Feels
they have
really
10 picks
strongly.
at this point.
Yeah, because they had to
they
get rid of a
lost.
pick, right?
But 10, you're not going to bring in 10 rookies and expect all of them to make the roster, right? Like, or be impact guys right away. So yeah, I think it's, if there's someone they feel that strongly about, then yeah, you make that move. But to your point, Ashley, they better be a guy you're really sure on, because yeah, and David Lombardi just tweeted this earlier, like an hour or two ago, and he said the last time the 49ers owned pick 31, they traded up to pick 25, which again, that's not a lot of picks, right? They selected Brandon Ayuk with that one. It cost them number 31, number 117, so 4th rounder and then a 5th rounder. So they gave up you know 2 additional picks besides their number 31 in that trade to just move up, like, what is that, 6 spots? So
That's kind of crazy.
I
I
could
didn't
see
realize that.
it. I mean, yeah, if you're going in the first round, to move up in the first round, you always have to give up, a
Quite a
pretty
bit.
decent amount. And again, it's a 4th and it's a 5th rounder. Now we look back on it and we're like, it was Brandon Ayuk. Like, who cares? That we gave up that much, a 4th and a 5th. And so again, you better be sure it's an impact guy, a guy who you got to be sure on that guy. So if there isn't someone they feel that strongly about, then they stand pat at 31. Maybe you explore moving up 1 or 2 spots for someone who, you're not really sure if they're gonna, make it to 31, right? Oh, I think the Ravens are gonna try to get the guy we want. Let's try to, move up a couple spots in front of them, right?
Yeah.
So they can always do that. I feel like that would be more likely than them moving up like 6 plus
Yeah.
spots. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely be open to it. And yeah, it would not surprise me.
Now, a different way that they could have a higher draft pick is if they moved off of Brandon Ayuk. But from the talks of everyone in Orlando, it seems like that's pretty much not an option for the 49ers unless they were to get a king's ransom, for lack of a better word, for lack of a better way of phrasing that. But how do you feel about, there was reports that came out, I think it was earlier this morning, might have been late last night, that said the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk were not even close, that Brandon Ayuk is asking for somewhere around $27 million because he wants to get more than Deebo Samuel, that the 49ers are looking to pay Brandon Ayuk something like $22 million. Obviously, we have no idea where these numbers are even coming from.
Yes.
I kind of assume that, like, the 49ers, like, I think if the 49ers are at $22 million right now, then we should be giving them applause, because I would assume that they're at like 20 right now. Because it sounds like, just from everything we've heard, it sounds like they start at like, we're going to pay you 15 and they work their way up slowly. And I wouldn't expect the Brandon Ayuk offer to be done until what, like late July at the early. I mean, with Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa, it was in late August and September. So hopefully, I mean, I want them to get. I'm pro getting Ayuk done as soon as possible, but I think Brandon Ayuk was saying he wasn't even going to start really caring about it till after his birthday, which just happened recently. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and Jed York, I think, all talked about the draft, waiting till after the draft to really deep dive into contract negotiations and stuff like that. So once again, I don't know where these numbers are from, but just, did you hear about this report? Do you think that at the end of the day, Brandon Ayuk will make more than Deebo Samuel? Do you think that that's a fair ask for him? I kind of assume that, just because I assume, like, the cap goes up. So I never think that I always
the
think
market goes up, all that. Yes,
yeah.
and yes. I do think he should absolutely want more than Deebo Samuel, and I think he should definitely get more than Deebo Samuel, right? And yeah, I mean, I think any worry about it right now in March and April, like, is crazy. For these reports of they're very far apart is something we hear literally every year around this time for any player the 49ers are looking to extend, right? Just because it's too early. Like, the 49ers have their price that they're going to start off with, and Brandon Ayuk has a price he's going to start off with, and they're here and here, right?
Yeah.
The point of negotiation, which I don't even think they've gotten into the weeds of it yet, because the 49ers said they're going to wait till after the draft.
Literally was like, we're just talking.
Is to chip away and try to get to somewhere in the middle or close where you can compromise on that. But like, they're not there yet. They haven't started chipping away at the numbers. And so, that's why they're going to be far apart. I mean, I just think it's normal. We are going to get many reports like this from now between now and the time this extension happens, and is
that just because it, like, people are interested in that news?
Yeah, and it generates engagement, and people freak out about it.